Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we are going to learn about double keep and try. First of all, let's take a look at the name itself. Why we call it double keep and try. Well, any transaction that we make in the field of accounting requires effect on the two sides, not only one. For example, Bromson bought goods for $100 in cash. Like, if we see such kind of transaction as a person who doesn't have knowledge on accounting, we can see that Bromson's cash has decreased to $100. But in the field of accounting, just we have to see one more side. For knowing it, we have to answer the question of why? Why Bromson's cash has decreased to the $100? And the answer of this question is he bought goods. And in the field of accounting, we call it purchase. Well, Bromson's cash has decreased to $100 and his purchase has increased to $100 because he has one more thing and one more purchase. It means that his purchase has increased. Well, I showed like the decreasing in cash and increasing in purchase just with this sign. But in the field of accounting and finance, we cannot use these symbols for showing like the increase or decrease in purchase, cash, receivable, asset. We have to use like debit and credit. But we cannot say that debit is only for increase and credit is only for decrease. No, we cannot say that. For knowing whether something is on debit or credit, we have to categorize them according to the terms, according to the things like the purchase or cash or sale. So for knowing it, we have to know this diagram. We have to write like credit or debit. Like the easiest way is to remember the word of pearls because we will be needed a lot. And but for why? Well, in here P is purchase. And purchase occurs when you buy something. And the next one is expense. Expense may include bills or wage and salary for your workers at work, or it may be raw materials. Let's say if you bought raw materials for making furniture, it means raw materials are considered as expense. Or let's say you like they changed the color of the room and you repaired the room, it is also considered as expense. Asset is the thing that company owns. Let's say the company's car, or the cash is also considered as asset. Or let's say receivable. When you sell something for credit, it means that you will be having a receivable. Or let's say like the laptops of the company that you use, or even building, is also considered as assets. And when there is an increase in this side, it is considered as debit when it increases. And if this side decreases, it means that it is our credit. Let's say in our first example, our cash has decreased, right? And cash is our asset. And if any component in this side decreases, it means that it is our credit. That's why while making transactions, we have to write credit for this transaction instead of this symbol. Let's say you paid for rent. In that case, this transaction affects to the two sides. One of them is expense, another one is cash. And both expense and cash is located in that side, but one of them is increasing and one of them is decreasing. That's why we can define which one is credit or debit. In that case, our expense is increasing because we paid for the expense, and the increase in that side is called debit. That's why we have to write debit on this side. But when it comes to the cash, it is decreasing because we paid for the rent. We spent cash. That's why we can call it credit. So now let's take a look at this side. First one is revenue. We can call it sales as well. It occurs when you sell something. It means sales. When you sell something, it affects to the sales side and the cash. If you sell something for cash, and if you sell something for credit, it affects on the side of sales and receivable. And the next one is liability. Liability is an obligation to transfer economic resource as a result of past events. It may be your loan. You have to transfer your cash to the person that you are owed money. It may be payable. When you buy something for credit, it means that it is your payable. Or the payment that you have can also be liability. And the next one is shareholders' equity. What does shareholders' equity means? It is net worth of the company. Equals to the asset minus liability. Well, what I meant by that, like in asset, let's say your company earned $1,000. Say you have hundred. Let's say you have $1,000 in the company, and 600 of this money is your liability. You bought, let's say, raw materials for credit, and you have to pay $600 for like the liabilities that you have for earning this $1,000. And in that case, you can say that, like, but you have this $1,000 right now. In that case, you can say this $1,000 is your asset, but $400 is your equity. Because this is the amount of money that without any liabilities. Or it can be capital as well. Capital is also the same as net worth of the company. Or it may be in the forms of shares as well. Let's say you bought 30% of the shares of the company and you receive either dividend or profit from your disinvestment. So it is also an example of equity. Well, components on this side is the vice versa of this side. When increase in these components, you should write credit. You should write it on the credit side. But when decrease in these components, you should write it on the debit side. And this is the main thing that you have to learn, you have to remember. Well, what I meant by this, in credit it increases, in debit it decreases. Well, let's say you sold goods for cash. In that case, on debit side, we should write cash, because cash is the component right here. And when you sell something, you receive cash. And on the credit side, you have to write this sales. Because there is increase in sales.